MTG Scoundrels. It's in the cardboard.
Ladies and gentlemen, scoundrels of all ages, welcome back to another episode of Modern Weekly. Today on the docket, we have possibly the swan song of Temur Breach versus format favorite Black-White Blink, or as some call it, Orzhov Sewers. Already starting off, taking two and casting an Aether Vial. There's an island. Into a Preordain. Scrying 2, drawing a card. One went bottom, one went top. There's a Mishra's Bauble. And passing the turn. Aether Vial will go to 1. Ooh, kept a one-lander and passing. Which can sometimes be okay for these Black-White Sewers lists. There's a Hedge Maze. Going Surveilling. Keeping it on top. Into a Tamiyo. And passing the turn. Vial will go to 2. Ooh, second land just in time. Luckily, Aether Vial helps mitigate these things. Going to 16. Starting off with an Overlord. And that's generally what these Blink decks are looking for. Being able to respond with Solitude. Bauble getting cracked at the end step. In response, there is an Orcish Bowmaster. That'll ping the opponent. A lot of Blink lists not running Bowmaster. But it is still a powerful card in this format right now. Bowmaster pinging once again. That'll bring us 16 to 18. Stomping Ground coming in untapped. Recruiter of the Guard getting exiled for Solitude here. Before combat, to exile the Tamiyo. There is a Grinding Station. And passing. Aether Vial going to go to 3 here. The Ephemerate draw here gives a lot of options. Looks like Emperor Bones is how it's going to start, though. Not bad at all. Definitely gives you something to start exiling important cards out of the opponent's bin, especially early on. Speaking of, hitting the Mishra's Bauble. Attacking him for 3. That'll bring us to 16 to 13. Aether Vial being activated. Here is a Flicker Wisp. Targeting the Overlord. Moving to the end step, Overlord will come back. Picking up the Solitude. And passing the turn. There is an Unholy Heat. More than likely hitting either the Flicker Wisp or the Bowmaster. Hitting the Flicker Wisp. And passing. Rough spot. And sometimes these Orzhov draws are kind of impeccable. Aether Vial getting activated. Putting in a Ketramose. Emperor Bones exiling the Unholy Heat. That's going to trigger the Ketramose, losing a life. Drawing a card. And attacking in for 10 here. That'll bring us to 15-3. Picking up the Phalia off the Overlord. And passing the turn. And scooping it out from there. Game 1 going to Black White Blink. Thank you all so much for watching us here at MTG Scoundrels. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. Be a friend, tell a friend. Let us know, if you guys have been enjoying our monologue series, as well as our other videos. We'd love to hear from you. Moving into our ads, definitely check out our friend playing in this match with the lovely Show and Tell mat. Arcane Artistry. Make wonderful food, clue, and treasure tokens in the stained glass style, made out of acrylic. Link to their Etsy is in the description. Wonderful tokens from Arcane Artistry. And of course, we are hosted by our sponsor, Warden Games. Wonderful place to storm out. Link to their TCG player as well as their storefront in the description below. And check out our friend Sean Gerard. Made wonderful art for this channel. He's made wonderful art for other channels as well. Their email is in the description below, as well as a QR code here on the screen for you if you're looking to pick up any art for future projects, even if it is just a gift for a friend. Definitely check them out. Wonderful art from Sean Gerard. And of course, last but not least, check out our socials. We are at MTG Scoundrels on Blue Sky, X/Twitter, and Facebook. Of course, follow us on Blue Sky. That is where we are most active. Moving to sideboard decisions here, generally, the black-white player is taking out their Aether Vials if they are playing them, and bringing in Artifact Hate in Stony Silence. Also, in this case, probably bringing in some amount of Deafening Silence, as well as Dauthi Voidwalker. Dauthi proving to be very effective in these matchups, as long as it can stay on the battlefield. But if it doesn't get exiled, it can be recurred with Overlord really well. And the Breach player bringing in another win con in terms of Jace, as well as enchantment removal, as that is generally the favored way of hating their deck out. Moving into game number 2 here. Game 1 was a little lucky in the fact that Breach had to go to 5. It seems like in game 2, Breach going to 5 is happening as well, but these Breach decks are very good at accumulating resources. Starting off with the backside of Sink into Stupor. You'd be amazed how many times I had to say that to get it correct. Tapping for 1, here's a Tamiyo. And a Mox Opal. Not a bad start. Lush Portico. Well, that's a hate piece. Generally, you keep that on top. Moving to the turn of Temur Breach. Tamiyo is going to attack, make a clue token. Speaking of those wonderful Arcane Artistry tokens, there's one right there. Aether Spellbomb coming in. And there is an Emery, which can now be cast thanks to the 3 artifacts on the battlefield. Those are some decent hits. Looks like at least 2 Baubles and a Mox Amber. Or excuse me, Mox Opal. There is a Deafening Silence. That'll slow the deck down for a little bit. Luckily, most of the pieces that the black-white player plays are in fact creature spells and not non-creature spells. Emery being activated, targeting a Mishra's Bauble. Tamiyo attacking, making another clue. And passing the turn. Could have went for trying to flip the Tamiyo right there, but instead decided to wait a turn. Specifically to be able to react and keep up the advantage. Untapping, drawing. Windswept Teeth for turn. Crack in the Windswept Teeth. Finding a Godless Shrine. That'll bring us to 16 to 17. Into a Dauthi Voidwalker. There's a second lock piece for you. Bubble's going to get cracked while Dauthi's on the stack. Deciding if I want to fetch it away here. No, deciding to draw it. We'll then fetch while Dothy's still on the stack. Finding a stomping ground. Bring us to 16 to 14. Essentially leaving room for an answer for Dothy while keeping cards in the bin for a possible Underworld Breach run. Speaking of an answer, there's a Lightning Bolt. However, Ephemerate is getting cast here on the stack. That'll flicker the Dothy, giving the Lightning Bolt 0 targets. And passing the turn. Dothy's pretty great here, but a Flip Tamiyo is still a problem that the Blink player has to deal with. There's an Urza Saga. Some tough decisions here. It is a tough decision trying to figure out what your line of play is here. You're not wanting to mess around with the amount of artifacts you have just yet. Which, speaking of, this is why the Emery casting the Mishra's Bauble. But there's also a Deafening Silence out here. As a clue being activated. That'll draw the third card for turn. That'll flip the Tamiyo. Choosing not to cast the Ephemerate, it'll go to exile. Ooh, looks like a Ketramose has been drawn. A few different options in hand for the Blink player. There's a Flicker Wisp, targeting the Tamiyo. So that'll flip the Tamiyo back over. looks like that's accidentally going to hand. That's supposed to come back into play on the end step. The Dothy attacking here, that's going to go back to hand thanks to the activation of the Aether Spell Bomb. Backside of a Witch Enchanter as a land and passing the turn. Saga going to 2. Emery being activated. Bringing back a bauble. Oh, that is a miss there. That Tamiyo should just already be in play, as we mentioned. However, that bauble was just cast off the Emery and through that deafening silence. So there should have only been one... Well, excuse me, it's a creature now. Apologies. The Flipwalkers make you rethink creatures and spells. There's a Dothy Voidwalker being cast for turn. Either way, the Tamiyo shouldn't have been cast because it should have already have been in play. That bauble getting cracked there. Ooh, there's a Recruiter of the Guard. In response, Unholy Heat is going to target the Dothy Voidwalker. That'll resolve. Could get a Solitude here. Choosing to get a Skyclave Apparition. Which, if you're trying to get rid of a mana source, that's not the worst idea. Also can deal with a Grinding Station. Real decision here on whether to attack with the Flicker Wisp or not. Stopping clue generation is something. That the Blink player probably wants to do simply because flipping Tamiyo again would in fact be annoying. A decision to be made here looks like floating the mana for the Urza Saga and going searching. Won't be surprised to find a Mox Amber here to help with any mana woes. Especially being that the Aether Spell Bomb had already been used. There's a point maybe where you decide to use the Emery to go recast the Aether Spell Bomb. There's Misty Rainforest. Mana at this point shouldn't be a problem. But that gives some room here when cracking the bauble to manipulate the top of the deck a little bit. Jace the Perfected Mind. Alright. The other win con besides Thassa's Oracle and Urza's Saga, well, specifically the construct tokens off of Urza's Saga. Jace ticking up, milling 2 cards. Drawing the 3rd card and flipping Tamiyo. So here we are, but now with 2 planeswalkers on the battlefield instead of the 1. Passing the turn. Ooh, there is a Stony Silence. Stony Silence going to get played here. In response, Mishra's Bauble going to get correct. Looks like there's a land on top. Only 4 cards in exile for a possible Ketramose. And there is a Skyclave Apparition. That's going to target the Tamiyo. And Flicker Wisp is going to attack in here. Hitting the Jace for 2, thanks to the tick up from the Tamiyo. And passing here on the end step, Misty Rainforest going to get cracked. I'm going to try to shuffle this land away. Finding a hedge maze. Some incredible value here. Fetching the land away, essentially, and getting a Surveil out of the land. The Surveil lands have just been a boon for all the formats they're legal in. Untapping, drawing. Oh, missed. Oh. Well, actually looking like they kept it on top. They kept it on top and drew 2 cards. One for the bauble and one for turn. Jace will tick up. Gonna mill. Ooh, milling the Boseiju. Oh, that is not what they wanted to see. Of course, the Blink player is ecstatic about this. Another Urza's Saga. Into a grinding station. Passing the turn. There's a 6th land drop, which could matter here. Here's 2 mana for the Overlord. That'll be impended. Ooh, Solitude in the bin. Bowmasters. Failure and Recruiter. Not a bad set of cards. On top of the fact you already have Dothy in there too. The only problem with Dothy is you don't have 2 black mana up. So that kind of makes it really hard to be able to play some of these. Alright, move to combat. Attack it in. It makes it a lot harder to play 2 black spells in the same turn. Picking up the Failure here, considering there's a Ketramose in hand, is probably just to try to get some value out of the Ketramose. Everybody attacked into the Jays. And passing the turn. This is where Breach probably goes into making Construct mode, considering Sony Silence and Deafening Silence are on the battlefield. There's another Tamiyo. Emery here is going to cast an artifact from the bin. That'll be Amishra's Bauble. So currently there are 4 artifacts. When a construct is made, that'll go up to 5. End step. Failure gets cast. Untap. Draw for turn. There is a Thoughtseize. Sometimes having Thoughtseize pop up this late is good for you. Black White Blink, gonna take 2. Whew. There's a Spell Snare and 2 Underworld Breaches, as well as a Mox Opal. If it wasn't for the hate pieces in play, this Breach deck would already be well onto winning, and there'd be a game 3 already. Spell Snare is going to get taken. There's the Ketramose. You don't really want to attack in with the Failure here. Not as effective without flying. They are just going to pass. Also because of this construct that's going to be made. And wanting to leave up Flicker Wisp to deter that Tamiyo from flipping. Fetched for Steam Vents there. I believe there's only like 4 or 5 cards in exile, so Ketramose is not online. making another construct in response to the trigger. What a game 2. Finding a bauble. So these are 7/7 constructs. Should be noted, the Ketramose can attack or block. The Overlord is not done being impended yet. So this recruiter's going to have to get in the way of that construct attacking in. Passing the turn. Oof, land draw here, not what you want to see. Looks like we have Thalia and Flicker Wisp attacking in here. Overlord will get flipped. Ketramose will trigger. Looks like another Overlord was drawn here. Taking 3. That'll bring us to 13-9. Overlord gets cast. This time not for the impending cost. 4 lands off the top. Let me tell you, if that was any better for that Blink player, I don't know what was. I just cleared 4 dead draws. And you can... Alright, looking like a Bowmaster is going to end up in hand here. Playing the land for turn. Windswept Heath going to get cracked. It's going to have to find a Godless Shrine. That'll come in untapped. That'll bring us to 10-9. End step, Overlord comes into play with no impending counters on it. 4 cards get milled. Solitude's going to be taken here. And passing the turn. The Bowmaster is pretty good at blocking constructs that don't have trample. There's another Saga. This is one of the many reasons why the Breach deck is so resilient. Take away their main plan of comboing you out, and they just put permanents on the battlefield, make constructs. End step, Bowmasters. Will be cast, will deal 1 damage to the Breach player. Another Stony Silence. And you have 7 mana. You can cast both the Solitude and the Stony Silence here. Three hate pieces on board. There's a Solitude. That's going to exile... Looks like exiling the Emery here. So the Breach player will gain 1 life. Black-White Blink will lose a life, draw a card. Flicker Wisp getting in. Bringing us to 9-6. Passing the turn. Saga going to 2. There's a hard cast of Athasa's Oracle. Looking at the top 3 cards here, because the devotion is 3 to blue. We'll get to put 1 on top. Normally, this card is played to win the game, but that is not the case here. Passing the turn. There's an Ephemerate. A lot of options here. Getting rid of tokens, not the worst idea in the world, but you really don't want the Breach player to have more life here. Here's the Ephemerate. Ephemerating the Solitude. Exiling the Tamiyo. So, looks like the Ketramose is online. At minimum with the Ephemerate sitting in exile for rebound. Flicker Wisp, gonna kill a token. Of course, lost a life off the Ketramose to draw a card. Flicker Wisp will attack in. That'll bring us to 7-3. Deafening, a second deafening silence there too. End step, Construct being made. Ooh, mana being floated instead of a third Construct. Finding another bauble. Just the sheer amount of value is impressive. There's a Malevolent Rumble. Pyroclasm going to the bin. I would have dealt with the flyers. Emery getting played here. There is a Tamiyo. That is a flying blocker. 1 red mana up. Alright. Ephemerate on the stack. Will it get cast? Looks like it will here. It's going to exile the Tamiyo, leaving 0 flying blockers. No life gained. But lose a life, draw a card. Attacking him for 6, and that'll do it. Game, set, match. Going to black-white blink. What a grind. And a fitting send-off to Temur Breach. Thank you all so much for watching us here at MTG Scoundrels. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. Be a friend, tell a friend. And we will see you all next week.